everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode, or should I say pre-episode, of the new podcast that we're having here called Rich Conversations. I'm your host, Aruj Said, for this episode, and we basically on this podcast invite business owners, professionals, and also leaders in the community to talk about their successes and for them to basically share their stories with us. So with me today, I have my dad, Zahid Sayed, and I also have my brother, Rehan Sayed. So they're both in the business, and I like to call this our little Aruj Financial Group family. So yeah, basically I just wanted to start off by letting you guys introduce yourself a little bit and talk about that, yeah.
Absolutely. My name is Zahid Sayed, and I started this business back in 2001. Happened to be when you were born. So, we kept our name Aruj Financial. Over the period, we have learned how we help the community to not only grow with us, but also how they can leave more legacy for what they have built. So our business have grown over a period, and we have specialized with the business owners, corporate professionals, and wealthy families to not only protect and also build and transfer their wealth to their next generation the most tax effective way. So that was sort of my passion about because you want to leave some sort of a legacy. If you are an immigrant, if you come from other country, we just want to make sure that what you build, you also leave as a legacy for next generation.
Yeah, and obviously my name is Rehan. Obviously his son. And your brother as well. Kind of listening to him, he has more of a big story to tell, and actually because of whatever he was saying, that actually got me into the business. I'm actually a third-year student at Schulich as well, and this past year I've been finally coming into this business. I remember when I was smaller, I always used to look at what my dad used to do and how he used to help people, right? Our dad used to do how, he helps people in these kind of things. And I always looked at it and be like, okay, wow, this is such a niche industry. It's an industry that...
It's not like your typical industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Growing up,
typical.
you think that maybe be a doctor, be a lawyer. But like this industry itself is unique, right?
Yeah, especially like all my friends, they're obviously going lawyer, accountant, doctor route, which obviously is fine. But for me, I've always seen a passion with this. So that's kind of how I got started into this.
So with this podcast being called Rich Conversations, what does that mean to you?
No, Rich Conversation is an otherwise a unique name because people think when they think about rich, they think about money. But Rich Conversation is beyond the money and beyond being rich. It's more about how the person has shown their leadership over the period, how they have changed their family's future, they have changed their own family future, they have started something, a business or entrepreneurship that they built over the period, what lessons they have learned during that while they're building, and what legacy they want to leave for the next generation and for the community. That could be a philanthropist, could be a business owner, could be a leader in the community. So the get meat out of their experience, that's called rich conversation. Exactly. And they could be rich also. So that doesn't have to be,
rich as in fulfilling conversation.
Fulfilling conversation. Yeah. So that's how I thought, a lot of people talk about only other things, but talking to them and learning from their experience and sharing their experience, that's what really helps.
So what are your goals, or what do you want to accomplish with this podcast, and how do you want to help people or share, what do you want to share with others with this podcast?
No, for me, it's very important. I want to share and learn from those conversations, and giving to other people so they can learn from it and they can also build the same thing that these people have built. Exactly. Right? So our goal is to make sure. And sometimes even the guest that what we will communicate on the financial side, they might be missing something out of it that they should be doing on the financial side for themselves also. Like, for example, succession planning, right? How they can tax effectively transfer their wealth to their children or to the charity so they can reduce their taxes. So we'll also be sharing our experience with them while learning from them, and then both pass on to our general people so they can learn from there.
It'll be interesting conversations because people usually want to kind of tap into that mindset of the rich or just people who are wealthy or have built that success for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to basically tap into that mindset, we allow this podcast to basically do that.
Yeah, and kind of just adding to that actually, when you kind of think about the word rich, obviously people think about money and this and that, materialistic things. The way I like to kind of look at rich is kind of associate rich with wealth and wealthy. You can even call this a wealthy conversation, right? Wealth in terms of that is more about how you are as a person, right? Because you see a lot of people, they have a ton of money and this and that, but again, they might not be as philanthropic as they should be, or they might not be giving back to the community, kind of leaving a legacy, as he's saying, or kind of creating value, right? Rather creating value for yourself, creating value for others. So kind of looking at this whole podcast right here is kind of just sharing, bouncing off, ideas with other people. I like, with my friends especially, obviously we're all very young, but the way we kind of talk and communicate, it's always about how can we be better than we were yesterday, right? It's not just a matter about having fun. It's a matter of having fun, but also talking about, okay, we're having this fun, but how can we have even more fun in the future and kind of maintain this kind of overall lifestyle, right?
Exactly,
So that's kind of how I kind of look at this. So I just want to just add that.
So
No, you are just saying that no, even the younger generation people, they're also building some legacy, like, the entrepreneurship in a very early age.
Yeah.
And you plan to bring
So
some
that
guests?
exactly, that was going to be my question. So talking more about that, what kind of people do you intend on bringing to the podcast?
Yeah, so I'll actually take this right here. With me, it's not necessarily knowing, people who are more established and everything. Rather, again, since I'm young, I know quite a few people who are actually starting up, kind of on the entrepreneurship side, or kind of more on the community side. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends, and a lot of acquaintances where, I can kind of bring them here and kind of ask them a lot of questions and kind of just gain more knowledge, gain more insight, because obviously at the end of the day, we all want to be better, right? We all want to be better than yesterday, but how we go about doing different things, we kind of bounce off ideas with each other and everything like that.
I feel like it's kind of fresh to see
very
that perspective.
fresh. Yeah, especially
Versus,
because
like, yeah.
with young people, obviously with the older, you kind of get more wisdom. With us, it's more, we don't know what's going to happen.
You see the journey
but we
as
see
well,
the journey.
yeah.
We have that vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, you can also, because doing a planning in the early age, you guys, we're going to be asking questions, what planning they have done, because it's more about the early start. Right, so the young generation can learn from it, that what they have done and what they have not done, and they can start the same thing what those guys are like. Could be entrepreneurship right out of university or within during the university. So those are very, very those are the guests that you would bring. And of course, for me, because I know a lot of leaders in the community and the philanthropists and good business owners, that they are down to earth. So they are not only bringing the employment, but they also bringing the legacy. They are bringing the wisdom. They are bringing how they transform something, nothing, to what they have now. Right. So though I think it's very important for the new generation and even the older generation to learn from each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
So rather than, he's rich for no reason, like, they maybe he did
Everybody
this
starts somewhere. So it's like
right?
a good way to see the
That's
beginning
right.
of something and the after as
That's
well.
right.
And I'll say this right here. Every professional was once an amateur,
Yeah.
right? So you always have to remember that. That's why, a lot of people, there's always these negative kind of connotations about, oh, he's young, he doesn't know. Sure, for example, me, I might not know as much as him, for example, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to get to that position. So how we can kind of bounce off ideas of how you can get to that kind of level, I think that's very respectable.
So I like how you kind of mentioned about first professionals now started as amateurs in the beginning. So I'm going to be talking to you as a professional. You were an amateur once too in the beginning. So how did you start and how did you get to where you are right now?
No, when I started, I was always looking at the ways and the different successful people that I can learn from it. And I became organization which called $1 Million Round Table, is global organization, only top 1% of the advisor qualified to be. And they bring the different leaders there and they say how they have done. And what I have learned, especially in the business, is the focus. What specialty that you can bring on the table, what you can be specialized in. So you make sure that you know inside out of that profession, right? Because you can be helping everyone, but
You
not
started
helping
out
everyone.
that way too,
I
right?
started absolutely, and that's what again I learned over the period. And I start specializing in estate planning and the business owners' issues and problems, and also for the professionals like doctor, lawyers' issues and what they have, make sure they are covered properly and how they can leave the legacy.
Yeah.
But it took a long time for me to learn. And but no, if I teach Rehan, I teach anybody else, maybe they should learn from mistakes, but maybe they can skip some of those mistakes that I have done it. So that is the purpose of this whole rich conversation, that we can give them that knowledge of the things that they should be focusing on. I know they are very educated in the younger generation, even the older generation. You can change any time.
Yeah,
Some
but
people
again,
may be
like
struggling.
you said, you can learn from both as well. Yeah.
Some people may be struggling, even in their business. Maybe they don't know how they're going to bring a family member into the business, right? There's
Or they feel like they've reached a certain cap and they can't grow anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we can discuss about those issues as well, but it's more about the personality. What personality you need to be successful.
Exactly. Because you think people don't just get rich just because it's their personality or their mindset, the way that they think, that makes that happen, right?
And it's not only getting rich, it's how, again, it kind of ties into what we do more on the financial planning side, right? Protecting those kind of things. Again, the base is the same thing. You can get rich overnight. But you see like lottery winners, for example, right? Lottery winners, they accumulate so much wealth in like mindset, this, and then they lose it like that as well. Yeah. So it's not about just building something, how you can kind of build something and keep it maintained. Same thing as going to the gym, for example. You can build a physique, but you're going to have to maintain that physique because you might lose that physique.
Yeah. Same thing with wealth, same thing with building a business.
Everything is all the same thing. Everything is interconnected.
Even with building a personality too and building that mindset, you have to work towards fixing that mindset as well.
Also, I was talking about the philanthropy side, because the legacy that you leave behind through philanthropy is very important. Not during your life, but once you are gone too. Because
that legacy,
the will, because we live one and die twice. Once we are gone, another one is when people stop talking about us, right? So there are actually financial strategies available which allow you to live beyond once you are gone. Okay, your children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren would be donating on your behalf if you leave something like. It's just all the knowledge, and that's what we'll be discussing. Also, we'll bring some of those guests from charitable organizations and discuss how we can make a difference in that and save the taxes at the same time. So that is, I think, that's another area that the rich conversation will go.
Exactly. So it'll be very interesting to join this podcast and learn so much, because there's so much that not a lot of people know about actually. Yeah. So now that I'm thinking about it, what do you think? I think our dad is a very smart guy.
Yeah.
And looking at him, even growing up, I also think that I want to keep learning more from you as well. So you talked a little bit about how you wanted to kind of get started in this business, but I want you to talk a little bit more about that. Like what kind of is getting you to join this business?
Yeah. So I remember when I was smaller, he would pick me up from school, and I don't know why he wouldn't drop me home. He would drop me to the office.
He's been planning this.
Yeah, he's been planning it since the beginning. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I remember, I wouldn't be going home. I'd just be going to the office, and he would be doing some work in the office, and I'd just be sitting. And this was, I think, 2 offices ago, because now we've moved quite a bit.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago. And I remember I would see him, in a suit, helping, talking confidently to clients and everything. And I saw that and respected that. Whenever I'm going into anything, I need to respect that thing. If I don't respect that thing, I won't be able to be motivated to go further and pursue whatever I need to pursue, right? So I saw what he did, I respected it. And then once I started getting older and older, again, I was still within the office. He would ask me like, Rehan, okay, I'm just doing this, you want to come? I would just say yes, right? Sometimes I would say no, but most of the times I would say yes, right? Obviously, I was a kid. And I started learning a lot more about what he was doing, for example, how planning works, how it helps people, those kind of things. And once I saw, I love helping people, whether it's just every single day.
That's the whole business, our whole business.
That's
is
the thing.
I
think as a family, we love helping people, and seeing him help people financially. Like, for example, at the same time, it's better to come, obviously going to a funeral with flowers is nice, but coming with a check is even better. Obviously, figuratively, as you can kind of just think, right? Yeah. But again, going back to what I was saying before, seeing how we'd help people and everything, I was like, you know what? Okay, obviously this is something where it's sustainable, number 1. Number 2, there's obviously value that we're creating for other people. And number 3, it makes me feel good as well at the same time. So this is an industry where, again, we were talking before, a lot of people don't really know too much about it. It's a very misunderstood industry, right? And there's not the best connotations around it. So I think even having something like this podcast can kind of shed light. Again, philanthropy, these kind of things, good things, right? Because at the end of the day, this industry preaches about good things, not bad things. So that's kind of what wanted me and
That's
attracted me to
again the
this.
main goal of this podcast is to basically show that as well.
Shed
That it's
light
more
onto
than,
things that
it's
people
more than
don't-
just what people think it is.
100%, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about that success mindset. So what are some habits that you guys do daily that basically help you with that? So I know like you like to sometimes wake up very early, and I know that you read a lot of books. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think consistency in anything makes you successful, right? You don't have to be, again, you don't, if you have a plan and you implement 10%, a good plan won't work. But if you have an okay plan, but you implement 80, 90%, it's going to produce more results. That's number one. Number two is that learning. Learning thing has to be there all the time.
You say learning never stops.
Learning never stops because you never stop growing, right? So read something that not only about your profession, but also about the other people's lives, right? What you can learn from it,
Opening your mind,
opening,
yeah.
how you should make conversation. Again, practice makes perfect for everyone, right? Whatever. That's why we specialize in whatever we specialize. We make business owners and professionals like that. And you would not even believe it that most of the business owners don't even sometimes know what they're missing, because sometimes they don't know what we don't know. They think only making money and paying the bills and making a profit is everything, but that's beyond that. So again, reading, having these good habits on the regular basis.
You got me into
also,
reading as well, yeah.
And also focusing and specializing in something, that is the key to success.
Yeah, I'll kind of add to that. Reading is something that, I'll be honest, I'm not really
He
the best
struggles a
at.
little bit.
I can have my hands held high and say there's something I need to improve on. Obviously, reading, number one.
Reading just
It's-
adds to that knowledge.
it adds
but
to the whole.
There has to be an implementation part to that too.
What I like to look at when it comes to habits, not necessarily doing the habit, but the reason why you're doing the habit. Learning, you're not going to open up a book and just read and be like, okay, I read 2 pages
No,
and that's about it.
there's something that happens
There's a
behind
meaning
it,
behind it.
yeah.
Because as you start to implement habit after habit after habit, it kind of becomes your lifestyle. What I like kind of preaching is having a healthy lifestyle, right? Kind of
You hit
waking
the
up.
gym a lot too.
Yeah, I hit the gym right now. It's not really showing that I hit the gym too much. I can't lie. But again, it's doing these small things. Again, I'm talking more about being a younger guy, because obviously at the end of the day, he's a little more on the older side, so he has more wisdom and experience. With me, obviously, I'm learning more about the business every single day. But how
What's something you would probably like recommend
yeah,
to
yeah,
each other?
I would
How
honestly.
about believing? How
That's
about
what I'm saying.
believing
I was
in
gonna
something?
add on to that actually. Having that belief, having that mindset, cultivating and sculpturing that mindset is very important. The people you surround yourself with, the people who kind of you look up to, those kind of things matter more before, again, talking about more of the specialization and all that kind of stuff. Because you can enter any business. Anyone can have the designations he has, right? But at the end of the day, it's
Doesn't
not
mean
about the
they're gonna do a good
designation.
job. Yeah.
Learning never
Yeah.
stops. Again, learning doesn't stop after school, right? When you come back from school, you can learn something else. You can kind of grow. Even going to the gym, you're learning about certain things. It kind of gives you that kind of overall mindset. Because if you have that mindset,
working
that
towards
anything's-
something as
you're
well.
working towards every single day. You wake
Yeah.
up, you're like, okay,
even
how
if it's
can
not
I-
professionally, it's still like personally, you're working
yeah.
always
how
working
you can
towards
always
something,
be
yeah.
better than yesterday. That's
Yeah.
what he tells me all
Growth
the time.
mindset,
And
yeah.
again, I struggle with this here and there. It's not always gonna go up like that.
never gonna
It's
be
gonna
that
go
way.
up, down. But as you go up and up, it
You're
gets smaller and
you're
smaller.
higher than you were when you started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So mindset. Without mindset, there is nothing. You might be
Yeah.
able to do well one day. Again, consistency is key. But where does consistency stem from? A good mindset.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall is what he just said. I'm just gonna say a few more things to it. So your believing in yourself is very important, and also the vision. You got to set. If the goals are reachable, then they're too small. You gotta have a goals that are huge. And
I like
you
to
got
say
three.
kind of like have that bigger vision, but then
Yeah.
also see how you take the steps to get to that
Absolutely.
vision. Yeah.
But again, when you have that bigger vision,
If
then
you
of
don't
course,
basically you want to have a vision that scares you,
that's right.
that you want to
Yeah,
try
the
to
goal,
achieve
if it
it,
doesn't scare you, then they are too small goals.
yeah.
Right? That is the actually essence of what we're talking about.
So basically, we're going to be preaching this to the people that we're going to be bringing onto the podcast. And learning, basically learning. With all these people that we're going to be inviting onto the podcast, we're going to be learning a lot, sharing a lot. You want to talk a little bit more about that before we end this little pre-episode?
No, I think this is a fantastic conversation, and it's a sort of a rich conversation.
You can always learn. There's so much to learn from this.
Much to learn, and hopefully we'll bring a great guest and the leaders that we can really learn from their experience and even show our experience to them, and then everybody can learn from there. And I think it's going to be very successful podcast going forward.
And just to add on to that, kind of focusing a lot on vulnerability as well, because at the same time you might look at everyone outside. For example, you might be like, okay, this guy is working every single day, he's making so much money, he's doing this, he's doing that, but not knowing the struggle. There's always a struggle behind everything. And kind of being more comfortable about sharing that and kind of learning from it, so when other people are going through something, they don't quit, rather they know that that's part of the process.
Exactly.
That's something that's also really important to touch upon.
So I think this is going to be very exciting. We're going to have some really rich conversations. We're going to be inviting super cool guests. You're going to be inviting so many people that you know, and also youngsters as well. And yes, thank you guys so much again for tuning in. And we hope to see you for the next episode of Rich Conversations.